Hey everybody, it's Diane Brandon Moody again. I'm back again with another episode of 50 Something Love, the podcast that talks about dating from the perspective of somebody over 50. I've talked about this before. I got married for the first time at 58, met my husband at age 57 on Craigslist Personals back when they had that. They don't even have it anymore. But I have learned because I've dated since I was 16 up until I was 58. Trust me, I have learned all the dating rules, and it wasn't until about 3 months before I met my husband that I really started acting like a grown up. Yeah, I can admit it. But, we all tell each other all these secrets and all these lies about dating and how to make dating better and blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, a lot of it is just nothing but trying to protect yourself from hurt. I said that in the last episode and I'm saying it again. This is the truth that we create a lot of dating rules in our own minds because we think they're going to protect us from getting hurt. Nothing protects you from getting hurt in dating. Nothing does. You're going to get hurt someday. That's just the way it is. And you can decide that you really don't want to be hurt and decide it's not personal. And that's the even best situation that you just say, whatever he said, it's not personal. He doesn't know me. So don't listen to it. That's the only way you avoid being hurt in dating is if you decide it isn't really about you, which is true. It isn't. It's about somebody else's when somebody else projects onto you their own feelings and the way they're thinking and all of that about dating. So, today's topic, time is your friend. Time is your friend when you're dating. There is a myth out there, mostly among women, and I don't even think it's a myth as much as it's just Um, it's a way of thinking and feeling that goes back to cave women days. We needed to be protected back in those days. A gang of cave people from the next cave is going to come over and kidnap us if we didn't have a big, strong protector. We were going to die of starvation if we didn't have a big, strong hunter. We could die from the elements if we weren't having somebody to protect us in that way, especially when having children. So our need to be protected goes back millennia. And the way protection kind of translates into a current female brain is through the fairy story, fairy tales, that's what I'm trying to say. The fairy tales that we grew up with. Snow White and Cinderella and Rapunzel and all these princesses, all they had to do was to see their prince, and the prince would kiss her, and ta da, they're married and happily ever after. And it was so quick. Well, you notice that all those stories end right after the happily ever after, right? Because they don't go into what happens into the ever after. I remember an old Carol Burnett skit that was about, I don't know, was it Snow White? It was some princess and the prince, and it was like 30 years after they got married, and they were fighting in this. It was really funny. They were fighting, and of course, it didn't look like they originally did, and griping with each other. It was very funny. But it was funny because everybody kind of remembers the fairy tales. If you're with the right person, it should be so easy and it will be so easy from the beginning till the end. That isn't true. It just isn't true because, especially if you're over 50, you're going to come into the dating world with your own already beliefs, your own thoughts, your own hurts, your own background, your marriage that didn't work or your dating situation that didn't work. You're probably going to translate that into all men are bad or all women are only after your money after one experience, something like that. Those are the popular terms these days. And instead, what I'm saying, instead of getting hurt over all this stuff, instead take your time. Take your time getting to know somebody. One quick coffee look up and down meet and greet is not 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 good for either one of you, because a lot of people don't hit it off in the first 10 minutes. This is so ludicrous. Again, this is a rule that you're creating to make yourself feel safe. And that gives you the power to reject a bunch of people. And that power, if you get to reject them first, that feels so powerful and so strong. And so it's so ludicrous. It's just dumb. Don't do a meet and greet. There's nothing romantic about a meet and greet at all. But take your time getting to know somebody. I always advise 2 or 3 dates unless somebody is just absolutely horrible, and you can define horrible. But in my mind, it would be like, you know, somebody trying to cheat the server or somebody just being an absolute nightmare to listen to for the whole 2 hours or whatever it is. Then I think you need to give it 2 or 3 dates. If at the end of 3 dates, then it becomes not good to string somebody along. That isn't super helpful. But you can let it go a couple of dates without it being any kind of manipulation or anything like that. So I highly recommend that you give it time. And then once you start dating each other, you owe it to yourself to give it at least a year. I don't care how good it feels. You should give yourself at least a year of getting to know that person, and maybe even a little bit longer. What are they like when they're sick? What are they like on a driving vacation? What are they like when something bad happens, like they get fired from their job or they lose their job in some other way, or somebody dies in their family? What are they like on that? Can they manage life, or do they just absolutely fall to pieces? These are reasons why you take your time to get to know people, because you just don't know what they're going to be like. Almost every scam thing that happens in person happens because somebody didn't give it enough time to get to know the other person. They get swept off their feet, and men or women, because there are Black Widow women out there, they get swept off their feet and not using their brain anymore, and their conscious thinking brain. They're not using that. They're just feeling good in the moment and decide they're going to feel good forever. So please, please, please take your time when you're getting to know somebody. I don't think you know somebody at all until after a year. And then it might take a little longer than that. Who knows? So that is today's rant. Taking your time. You need to take your time. You need to be realistic, not looking like a Disney princess, not expecting to have happily ever after, because life continues to happen. It can be good. It can be really good. It can be really, really great. But to expect it to be perfect is just silly. So that's today. Like I said, that's today. Take your time. Don't let anybody talk you into anything different. That's today's 57. I can't even talk today. That's today's 50 something love. And thank you for joining me again. I'm happy to have you. Please remember to get my free document 50 places to meet people over 50. If you're interested at dianebrandonmoody.com, I think you will be. It's fun and interesting, and you may not want to do everything that's on that list, but I can guarantee you'd love to do some of them, and you might have fun in the process. Who knew? Dating could be fun. Yay. Anyway, happy to be with you again, and I will be talking to you soon.